applying for a job, like sending in your resume and cover letter and all of that, that's easy. That's just like writing information about yourself down on pieces of paper and like other people read it. But actually having to do the interview for a job and having to talk to someone and feel like they're judging your every move and like everything you say, that can be really scary. But I've done it successfully. I've gotten some jobs and some internships. So let me tell you everything that I know about interviewing, so then you know it before you go into the interview, so it's not so scary. Also, hi, my name is Jess and I'm currently a college student, and I've started making videos like this one recently to teach you the things in life that you're not gonna learn in school and like no one's gonna teach you. But lucky you, I'm here to share my knowledge so that you can be prepared for whatever lies ahead. So you just applied for a job and you sent in all the information they asked for and you answered all their little questions and gave them your resume and your cover letter, and now you're just waiting. So if they want to interview you, they're either going to email or call you and ask to set up a time. You, of course, are going to reply very politely and say, thank you for this opportunity. 10 a.m. on Wednesday would work great for me. I look forward to speaking to you then. And they're going to read that response and be like, oh, this girl is so nice and so well spoken. I look forward to talking to her. So just basically, interviews are an opportunity for the employer to ask you more questions about your resume and for you to expand on the experiences that you've had and really just share some really good details about your life and your skills that you've accumulated along the way. Interviews are also oftentimes to see how well spoken you are, how personable you are, and how dedicated you are to getting the specific job that you're applying for. And just like right off the bat right now, I'm gonna say something that's gonna make it way less stressful for you, but if you actually think about it, the interviewer, like the person who is giving you the interview, really wants you to be the right person for the job. If you do this interview and they think you're perfect and you can actually do this job well and like be a good asset to their company, then that means that they're done with the interviewing process and like they found the person they were looking for. It's you. So that just makes their life easier if you do well. So they are definitely rooting for you. They want you to be the person that they're looking for so they can be done interviewing people, and they really want you to succeed. So that is just something to keep in mind right away, because it makes it way less scary when you know that someone is actually on your side in the interview and not like trying to pick you apart and find your flaws. They just want to know if you're right for the job. So let's get into some tips about how to rock this interview. First of all, you want to speak slowly and smile and show your personality, but most importantly, you're gonna want to know your resume extremely well. And when I say know your resume well, I literally mean like know what you wrote on there and know what you claim to have done. I feel like sometimes people try to make their resumes seem like they're a really like great asset and that they've done a lot of cool stuff and like led a lot of projects. But if you haven't done that and you get to the interviewer is gonna ask you about the things in your resume and you're gonna be like, and like feel like you have to make stuff up. So just don't like lie on your resume in the first place and actually say stuff that you've done and know what you wrote down. In every interview that I've had so far, I've had employers pick out specific jobs that I have written down in my resume and say, for example, I see here that you managed a social media account for your college. Can you tell me more about that? Like, it's a very open-ended question. So my recommendation before you get into the interview is to go through every job you've had and come up with a short story about the job or a short blurb about what you did at that job and what you learned, like what skills you gained from that experience. That way you won't be thrown off when the employer asks you to elaborate on your resume. Be sure you actually have things to say and practice them beforehand, like in the mirror or like to your mom or something. Just be like, Mom, I'm gonna tell you about this job I had, and just listen, okay? Just listen and let me say it. My next tip about how to rock this interview is to research. Please, please, please do your research before you get to the interview. Like, research the company you're applying for and know some things about them. I start researching the company when I'm writing my cover letter so I can say within it like the reasons why I'm applying and why I want to work at their company specifically and reference things from their website and stuff like that. But by the time of the interview, you want to know like everything about this company. Because for example, if they were to bring up something in the interview and you had no idea what they were talking about, they're gonna look at you and be like, did you even know about our company before you applied? Or are you just like looking for any random job? Like, do you actually want this job or are you just trying to make money? Like, do you care about our company at all? Like, if you don't care enough to look up a simple fact about them before you arrive at the interview, they're gonna assume that you don't care enough to actually have this job. Similarly, if you get to the interview and bring up stuff that you learned in your research, they're gonna be impressed by you for actually knowing these things. For example, I applied to one internship that I actually got, and when the person interviewing me brought up the fact that I might be helping create a podcast that she makes. Since I had done my research, I was able to say, oh, I actually listened to that podcast. Yeah, I listened to the episode about blah, blah, blah. And she was like, oh my gosh, like you did? What did you think? And then I got to tell her and actually share my thoughts about something that her company does. So that kind of research is gonna really make you stand out in this process and show the employer that you care. So now let's talk more about what's actually gonna be said to you in the interview so you're not floundering and like searching for answers. So what's one question you're gonna be asked at every single interview? They're gonna ask you, so tell me about yourself. And what are you supposed to say to that? Well, let me tell you. You're gonna give them a little resume rundown and basically like a highlight reel of your professional life. So I wrote out a little sample. I would say, well, I'm a junior at blank college in Minnesota and I'm majoring in English with minors in management studies, media studies, and race and ethnic studies. My most recent job was with blank company where my title was blank. I really enjoyed that job and my work there focused mostly on blank, blank, and blank. Overall, I would consider myself an organized and deadline-driven individual, and I hope to one day have a career in the field of blank. And there you go. You just answered that impossible question and you actually crushed it. Like those little details about yourself are exactly what your employer is looking for, and they're also just looking for a way to start the conversation rolling and to ask you about more things. So just practice that little intro about yourself before you get to the interview so you're ready to say it when they ask you that question. And now here is a list of other questions that will probably be asked of you during this interview. Notice a lot of them are about you overcoming a struggle, learning a skill, or persevering through hardships. This is because every employer wants a hard worker and a team player. They don't want someone who gives up, so I recommend looking through this list and answering some of these questions. And I don't mean just writing it down, I mean saying it out loud. Out loud. This is the thing that people always forget about. Like you could have like the most perfect response written down on paper, but in an interview, the point of the interview is that you have to say it out loud and use your mouth and actually like say things about yourself. So practice talking and have something interesting to say. Another one of those tricky interview questions that you might be asked is they might literally straight up ask you like, why are you the best person for this position? And like you might be thinking inside, you might be like, I don't know if I'm the best person for this position. Like maybe I'm not, maybe like the next person is. But you are gonna pretend that you are, okay? You're gonna respond and you're gonna say, well, my previous experience at blank prepared me for work in the blank industry. And I know that I would work very hard to be successful in this job and achieve growth for your company. Another impossible question thwarted by practicing and by actually thinking beforehand about what you could say to really hard questions. Finally, okay, we're drawing to the end here. Something you need to do at interviews is ask a question yourself at the end. They're gonna say, do you have any questions for me? And you're gonna be like, yeah, I do. I've been thinking about them all day long. Then you're gonna ask at least one question, up to 3. You probably don't need to do more than that. Like that's a bit overkill to ask like 6 or 7 questions. Do not do that. They're gonna be like, oh my gosh, please stop talking. But you're gonna ask a very well thought out and smart question. You're not gonna ask a question that is about information that can be found easily on their website because once again, they're gonna be like, this girl doesn't care. Like, why is she asking me that? But you can ask something like, what does a typical day look like in your company? Or what made the previous person who held this job good at it? So then, like, you know, like what they're looking for. They're gonna answer and you can be like, huh, like I can do that. Or you could ask like, what are your company's goals for the next quarter? Like what kinds of growth would you like to see? These questions would probably give you some pretty interesting answers. And again, it'll just show that you care. And one final way to show that you care is at the end of the interview, you're gonna tell them, like specifically tell them that you still want this job. This is a big mistake that I've heard about in other interviews and like in classes I've taken about like management and stuff like that. And it's that people like don't repeat at the end of the interview that they still want the job. Like maybe the interviewer assumes that at the end of it, like that you were just learning about the company just like they were learning about you, and you actually at the end were like, like I don't really want this job. So just explicitly say it one more time. Say something like, thank you for your time. I really look forward to hearing from you and I am still very interested in this position. It's as simple as that. And then one final pro tip is at the end of everything, after it's all over and you're back home and like de-stressing, send them a follow-up email to thank them again and be like, thank you. That was a wonderful interview. I learned a lot. I really look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for your consideration. Just thank them a lot of times and be sure to send that email so that you're still in their minds and they're like, huh, that girl was really nice. Like we should think about hiring her. And there you have it. That's how to ace your interview. I hope it was helpful, and please let me know if you have any other questions or things you'd like me to talk about that involve like growing up and learning things in life that you don't learn in school. cool because I'm learning them as we speak and they're a little bit complicated and I'd love to share any of that information with you guys. So if you had a good time, please subscribe to my channel and thank you guys for watching and I'll see you in my next video.